If you watch the trailer to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, we see plenty of shots and uses of the Ten Rings, except they're not actual rings, which is causing many people to, well, of course, be outraged and angry and question why. The most common complaint I've seen from, hold on, let me check my notes, giant Mandarin fans is the fact that he does not have the proper 10 rings in the trailer, and it doesn't look like he's actually going to have them in the film. Let's talk about why this change makes sense. And I think it's very apparent. The moment you look at it, you start to understand it. I think it's for the mass audience. It's for the sole purpose of not causing confusion to the people that are so confused by the most basic things that they can't click two things together when they watch these films. For example, I know we give people too much credit and go, well, people are getting a lot smarter on this. You guys remember that Black Widow trailer that released with the new release date for early July? Remember how the first 30 seconds is literally telling you she's dead. This is a flashback film before she died. That was put in there because test audiences who were called in, off the street to just watch this film as casuals or people that might have watched a majority of the films were questioning how is she alive after she died. See what I mean when I say you have to play to the lowest common denominator Joe Popcorn who has no idea what's going on? He's just like, that doesn't make sense. What? She died. You have to play it up for these people, which is why so many times we find out about cut details from movies. We're like, wait a second. They seriously cut it for that reason? It's like, yeah. And Marvel Studios has had to do that plenty of times. Same with the DCEU. I mean, it's just the nature of how things go. So when it comes to the 10 rings, there's a very easy reason for why. If you look at the 10 rings, what are they? They are rings on his hand. When he uses different powers, they glow. Where have we seen that recently? Oh, that's right. There was an entire movie, multiple movies, with a lot of build-up to a guy that's wielding a gauntlet with different colored rings that give off different colors when in use. Now look, you and I are not going to be confused by this. I know that. If you're watching this channel, if you're a little bit more tuned in, you know what's happening. The average Joe Popcorn who had to have 30 seconds of a Black Widow trailer explaining to him this happens before she died, she's not suddenly back to life, you didn't miss something, has no idea. And they decided to change them for that exact reason, because people are going to be confused, being like, does that guy wield the gauntlet? Is he Thanos? Thanos Asian? And also, it's sort of a interesting way to bring it in a different direction, because the 10 rings, the rings still exist in this universe. We've seen them throughout the MCU. Different characters with different rings or tattoos. So there is a way that they can convey that idea that the rings are still an element, but the actual rings, the things with the powers that we've seen in the trailers, are going to be wrist gauntlets. Wrist rings, which I think is a smart enough change not to confuse the masses, which, let's not get into confusing them, because then they'll be confused to basic plot points, which they are.